Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna, this is my mom Gina.
He is the journalist.
And she's the enthusiast.
Oh man, I'm enthusiastic because I got a lot to say today.
I also have a lot to say today, and it is a big day in NBA basketball because the NBA trading deadline is today, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Central. That is when the official trades have to be faxed, emailed, called in, whatever.
Text message.
Today, at least for the rest of this season. And so we will see what happens with what goes on with the rest of the teams in the league. We've mentioned there's been a couple. Well, actually, we didn't really talk about it too badly. We talked about in our last episode. We talked about the NBA All-Star break. And there was a last-second trade there. That's when we mentioned.
We did talk about the Boogie Cousins got told, like,
Cousins, right.
during the middle of a press conference.
Right.
Hey, your butt's been traded.
Right.
So we talked about that a little bit.
Exactly. And so with our title of today's show is what's wrong with the NBA or fixing the NBA. And that's really the question right now as we bring up the NBA trades. And so I know that you have a pretty good perspective on kind of how you think some of what's kind of going on with the NBA right now. There have been some analysts, some former Hall of Famers that have brought up some really good points, and I know you have some things you want to talk about when it comes to the problem of the NBA or what's wrong with the NBA right now. And I know we have done a lot of NBA talk on the show, season. But it is NBA season. It's basketball season on all levels, and so we're talking about it. So what would you say is the main problem, or just the easiest thing to bring up when it comes to the NBA as far as just how it's going and what's going on? Because I know you've got some things you want to say here.
Well, I'm going to borrow from the late great. Oh, he's not dead. I'm going to borrow from the current great Charles Barkley, and what he said is the NBA is putting out an inferior product.
Right.
Let's start with the fact that there's about 25 games left in the season, and the trade deadline goes right to the end.
Yes.
It's like, okay, at this point, no one else can switch teams. You got to do, I mean, come on. You played 70-some% of your season, and now you got to stop the trade.
Right.
Let's start with that. We've already talked about the fact that there's too many games, and the pre-Christmas games don't matter.
Yes.
You know, now they've added to it that the Dab Blasted All-Star Weekend is a joke. You can go to a Globetrotters game and get everything you need.
This is one of the worst All-Star games, I think.
Okay, but now what Charles Barkley said was we're putting out an inferior product. He said we've got all these one-and-done, basically AAU players who are coming into the league, scattered throughout the league, and then you've got the experienced, good, real superstars who are all trying to group together, so you got 2 or 3 super teams.
Right.
I agree with Charles. I don't 100% agree about the grouping or having super teams, because let's be clear, the Lakers and the Celtics dominated for years too.
Of course.
That's going to happen.
Yes.
But I'm talking about everybody who isn't on that level, who's not LeBron, Kyrie, the Splash Brothers, and Draymond. There is a whole group of young people who are running through the NBA on rosters who are under the age of 22. There's a whole chunk of them who are barely 21. Whose birthday's today?
D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers. Today's his 21st birthday, so shout out to him. Hey.
Your baby sister is turning 21 in 2 months.
Yeah.
She has no business holding a franchise on her back, although she's brilliant and beautiful. Correct. My point is, the NBA is fraught full of that. 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, and then you wonder why you sit back and you're not seeing the same quality of product you saw 15 or 20 years ago.
Right.
Michael Jordan went to college.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem. You got a bunch of kids who spent 1 year with a college coach, and before that they were either with a high school coach or an AAU coach.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we're all supposed to pay $150 a ticket in the NBA to watch them play.
Right.
That's my problem.
Well, I think you are onto something. It's not so much of the days anymore where it was just like the high school phenom where Kobe or Kevin Garnett or you could say like an Andrew Bynum, clearly a LeBron James. You know, some of those guys, I think you brought up a point during our pre-production about there are some guys, and I think I'll let you actually speak on this point. There are some of those guys that it's like, okay, right out of high school, he is NBA ready. But in today's game, I don't necessarily see that quite as much because of the high school coaches and the AAU coaches. Now, AAU has been around for a very long time.
Right.
But it is on a different level now where everything is super glammed up. Everyone is supposed to be, but they're really not. You know, it's a name more so than just, hey, this guy really has the skills. You know, this he's on this AAU team, so he's supposed to be good.
My eyes super
and so
big.
I know you had a point that you wanted to bring up about the college ruling when it comes to these kids doing a one and done, etc.
Yeah, I do.
And I think it's a good point, and I think it's something that needs to be brought up.
Well, thank you, and I'll try to make it succinctly. When you had the ability to take a kid straight out of high school, what teams did was they scrutinized those kids, and you would pluck one out every few years.
Yes.
Maybe one or two in a 2-year period.
Right.
Now what's happened is now the NBA says you can't do that. You have to have at least 1 year of college.
Right.
So now you don't have any of these actual LeBrons or KGs or
Right.
Kobe's. What you have is a whole bunch of, I don't want to call them mediocre, but you have a whole bunch of potential who goes and serves their 1 year, and now they're all in the draft. So
Right.
instead of plucking out the exact right ones that really were the diamond
Right.
in the middle of everything, you've got a whole bunch of coal that at some point might become diamonds, but because now they're eligible after 1 year, now you've flooded the market full of one and done 19 and 20-year-olds who are not giving you a good product in the NBA. And that's
Right.
the truth. And part of it is because literally last year they're playing against, 16-year-old kids in AAU or at the
Right.
high school level.
Correct.
Can I tell you my fix real quick?
Sure, yes, please do.
I hate that football players are treated so differently than basketball players. Football players have to be 3 years out of high school, and generally that means at least 2 years of college plus a redshirt
Yes.
year. Okay? In basketball, I think you need to open up the doors and say, if you are eligible and good enough to play straight out of high school, you should be drafted.
Right.
Make your money. But if you step a foot on an NCAA team, you're required to stay 2 years.
Yes.
That will tell you then after the sophomore year, the guys coming into the draft will have had 2 years in a program.
Right.
2 years under a Coach K or a Caliparic or a Bill Self or who's my guy, Michigan State.
Yes, exactly. There's a ton of coaches out there that you could, Rick Pitino and
exactly.
Tom Izzo, Michigan State,
Thank you,
Rick
but
Pitino for Louisville,
Even Shaka Smart down Texas,
Hey,
grow these young men up.
okay.
But you give them an opportunity, you teach them the discipline of being a college student, how you have to go to class. Now, you got kids in school for 1 year, how are you going to make them go to class?
Well, that's exactly the point.
For real.
No, I mean, and I think to your point, and I love that you were wanting to bring this up, and I wanted to lead you to it because it is a big deal, and I think that is what's going on with the NBA right now. Charles Barkley is exactly right. You have an inferior product. You basically just have a bunch of elite or just a bunch of young bucks.
Potential.
And there's
got
it's
elite
just
and potential.
And I know that even if you do, some kids are only 20 years old after their sophomore year, but at least they've had 2 years of college basketball. They're bigger, they're stronger, they know how to run a full offense.
They put some weight on.
It's not just, hey, I was on a select basketball team and I was on the Adidas pump and run, and all of a sudden now I'm rated by whatever, and that's just how now my name is brought up. No, you actually were under Coach Calipari, and you were with Bill Self. Who doesn't want to be coached with Bill Self for 2 years? Now, Josh Jackson is a freshman phenom for KU. He's going to be the number 3 or number 2 or maybe number 1 overall pick. He is ready to go. I do think that there are some of those guys.
But let me say, he would have been ready to go straight out of high school.
Yes,
that's our point.
To the point, he might have been the 1 or 2 guys. Hey, that guy's ready to go.
Right.
But here's another guy, Kelly Oubre out of New Orleans. He came to KU, was the 6th man. Now he's jumped around to his 3rd team, is barely getting, 5 or 6 points a game, still has a lot of work to do. And he only did 1 year, and it's not even like he was a starter. He came off the bench. He was the 6th guy for KU.
But he was
ready to go, and he averaged 12 points a game for KU, and I'm going to go and and fine, you make your money, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it doesn't help the NBA overall as competition.
And let's be clear, you can get nosebleed tickets for $45 at the Oklahoma City Thunder game. But if you want to be courtside or somewhere where you can actually see, you're in the hundreds of dollars for those tickets. You deserve a better product than some AAU kids who spent half a semester going to class and 1 season under a coach.
It's
and now
not getting them any better. It's not helping them try to be the best that they can be. It just says, hey, I'm literally going for the paycheck. And I think, like you said, either just do away with the 1 year because it's not doing anything for anybody.
Correct.
Or you make it mandatory for 2 or 3 years or however long the criteria needs to be, because the 1 year is not helping anybody.
And my statement, just to be clear, is to do both. If you are good enough at 18 or 17, like LeBron James was, you should be able to go make your money. But as soon as you go to an NCAA program, just like football, you have to stay for a commitment period of 2 years. Because then you have those kids have a chance to have an associate's degree.
Yes.
Now I'm going to end on this because I know we're out of time. But while they're in school, you need to pay those athletes. let me say it, pay those athletes.
Pay them up. Pay them up.
Pay those athletes.
That's
part of the problem.
Put some bread on the table for them. Do a little something for them, so that way they will stay in college, and so that there is an incentive for them to stick around, and not want to just jump to the league, whatever league they are, and people are getting put in bad positions before they're ready to do that. I totally agree. But
you can tell I'm excited about this.
You know, in the NBA, we love the NBA. It's fantastic. Again, all the NBA trades are going to continue to happen throughout the day. There will be some shockers. We're diehard Lakers, so we'll see what happens. Paul George, Russell Westbrook. Hey, man, I was tweeting out at you last night, so we'll see what happens. But we just want to say we appreciate your time, folks. Continue to follow us on all of our social media. Type in my name, Adam. We're doing it for YouTube. Like our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. We just want to say we appreciate your time, and thanks for watching, folks.
Us, folks.
All right.
Bye.